Hey folks, it's me, it's Joe, and this is my Midwest Gaming Classics pickups video. And yes, all my games are in a bag from Mount Vernon, which is actually close to where I live. Funny story, I'm zoomed in weird because I want to be able to show you guys all the stuff I got. So if you're like, why is it so close? Why is the top of your head cut off? That's why. But my mom bought some stuff at Mount Vernon when she came to visit me. My parents came to visit, as they do. And we went to Mount Vernon over Thanksgiving, and she bought some stuff and then took the bag home. And then when I needed a bag to put all these games in, to put inside my duffel bag so these kind of dirty old games aren't rubbing up against my clean clothes, this was the bag she gave me. So hey, I got a Mount Vernon bag for my games here. So some of the stuff you might have already seen if you watched the grab bag opening with myself and Eric from Game vs. Game, who was down at the show with me. But you know, we're gonna go through some stuff anyway. So you know, one of the big things that you can take away from this show, from what I picked up, is that people are always talking about the prices of games going up, and I've talked about it too. I talk about it, you know, in episodes of Same Name Different Game, in episodes of 5 Reasons, in episodes of Obscure Old Games. The cost of vintage games is going up, but if you are getting into collecting and you want to sort of bolster your collection with some good games, stuff from the 6th generation. 6th generation? Sometimes I confuse my generations. 4th is NES, right? 4th is NES. 5th is Genesis, Super NES. 6th is PlayStation. So 6th and 7th. We in the 9th generation already? Whatever. The PS2, Xbox, GameCube era. And I heard someone say, when I was at the Midwest Gaming Classic, I was looking through a bin of PS2 games, and someone said it's a shame that the PS2 just doesn't have that many good games. And it was all I could do to not just look at them and be like, are you not familiar with the library of the PlayStation 2? We just did a draft not that long ago. I'll put a thing over here if you haven't watched that yet. We did a console draft of the PS2. It was so hard. There's so many great games on the PS2 in particular, but in that era, and that stuff is dirt cheap. So a lot of what you're going to see in this video is stuff that I picked up from that generation and the one before it. But so this stuff came from the Makes Sense Variety Store. And this is actually located in Milwaukee at 5027 West Howard Avenue. I go there every time that I'm in Milwaukee, and they were at the Midwest Gaming Classic, but I always go there. They have very reasonable prices, and not even just video games. They're one of these places that takes games of all, you know, from Odyssey 2, basically, Fairchild Channel F, I guess, really, you know, games from that system all the way up to the modern stuff. And they also have not just video games, but action figures and old wrestling magazines and all kinds of stuff. If you're ever in the Milwaukee area, it's on 50th and Howard, or 51st and Howard, on the south side of Milwaukee, and I really recommend stopping there. But they had a big bin of stuff, disc-only stuff they were trying to get rid of, and I just got a bunch of stuff from them. So these games were individually labeled, but I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games for I just offered him $14 for 8 games, so that's less than $2 per game for Colony Wars Red Sun. I like those kind of space shooter games. I feel like we haven't had a good, like, if you're into EVE Online, I'm not that into it, right? I don't want to make that investment, but the sort of space dogfighting style games, I dig. I really wanted Star Fox Zero to be better than it was. And I've never played the Colony Wars games, and I've heard they're pretty good. So, you know, for whatever, $1. The Wii version of Jeopardy! So I don't think I've ever said this on camera before, but I'm going to say it now. I really want to do a Jeopardy episode of Same Name Different Game. Jeopardy is my favorite game show, the best game show. Not even my favorite. Forget about objectively. Jeopardy is the best game show. America's favorite game of questions and answers. answers and questions. And so I have the Sega CD version back here. I have the Game Boy version, and I have I've just been trying to get all the Jeopardy games, and they're always they're like cheaper than wrestling games, old versions of Jeopardy. So, Colony Wars Vengeance, so that's 2 Colony Wars games I got. This is the second one, I believe. Twisted Metal Head On, Extra Twisted Edition. I like the Twisted Metal series, I always have, and this is one I've never played. I never got it on PSP. And I just grabbed the PS2 version, and I think this is the one of the big reasons I got this is because I believe this is the version that has the full video cutscenes of the endings of the original Twisted Metal, which apparently were so bad and so cheesy that they just cut them out and put still frames in, if you remember the endings of the original Twisted Metal, but they did actually shoot video of those endings, and they're apparently a bonus feature on that. Onimusha 3 Demon Siege. This is going back to that PlayStation 2 draft we did. I think this was the last game Mike drafted. And just based on that, I mean, again, it was marked at $2. I paid less than $2 each for this whole stack of games. Worth taking a shot. The Thing. I've heard this game isn't that good, but again, I love the movie, the John Carpenter version, which this is sort of based on. I actually didn't even check if this is backwards compatible on 360. If it's not, I mean, again, less than $2 per game. This was one that I was actually actively looking for at the show because I don't have a copy. Def Jam Vendetta, one of the later AKI games. This started life as WCW Mayhem 2. Before it was totally overhauled to be a Def Jam game because WCW went out of business. But if you're not familiar with Def Jam Vendetta, which I assume most of you are, Def Jam Vendetta is dope. And Midway Arcade Treasures 3. Those two, Def Jam Vendetta and Midway Arcade Treasures 3, you might be able to see were priced at $5 each. So those were kind of the deal that I got by offering him a little bit less. This is just a bunch of racing games. It's the only Midway Treasures that I didn't already have. I like Hydro Thunder. I like Ivan Iron Man Stewart Super Off-Road and whatever, So that's cool. Got Jeopardy on the Super Nintendo and Rambo. Because I didn't have Rambo, or I don't think I had Rambo. I didn't have Rambo. And I'd like to do an episode about it at some point. I think this is one of those games that kind of the Angry Video Game Nerd did early on. And so everybody hates it, but I think people don't really give it a fair shake, similar to Friday the 13th. So yeah, these were in a bin that was like 2 for $5, I want to say. So grab those. I'm gonna have to do some magic erasing on that Rambo though, because whatever kid owned it back in the day started coloring the whole cartridge in black with a black magic marker. This one, I think I just paid the marked price, which is pretty rare for me, but this is Silent Hill Restless Dreams on the Xbox, which I'm almost positive is backwards compatible on 360. This one lets you play as Maria, adds new weapons, a couple new areas, and it looks better than the PS2 version. The Greatest Hits version added all the other stuff. I used to have the regular, original version of Silent Hill 2. And in one of my game selling, I don't sell games anymore unless I have duplicates, but in one of my game selling moments, I sold it because I was like, I want to get if I ever replay it, I want to get the enhanced version with the extra weapons and the extra blah, blah, blah. So now I have. These two, this was on Sunday, so the second and final day of the show. This dude was just trying to get rid of these, he had a table full of Wii games, and he was like, I'll make you a deal. I don't remember what the deal was. I want to say it was like 15 or 60. It was not much for Rhythm Heaven Fever and the Mad Dog McCree Gunslinger pack, which I'm a sucker for light gun games, and on a modern TV, this is the only way that you can play these. And I just didn't have this one for whatever reason. I never picked this one up. I remember playing it with Eric and Coffee at PAX I think the year it came out. So yeah, because the guy made me a deal, had to pick those up. This was in a bin for $5 maybe. I don't know if the dialogue is in Japanese or if it's this, or you know what, but you know, again, this was maybe $5 if that, and the US version is like $100. So until such time as Professor Abrasive finishes the Satiator, which if you're not familiar with what that is, you should look it up, but basically it's a thing that's going to slot into the video card slot of the Saturn that will basically function like an EverDrive for the Sega Saturn. But until such time as then, this game, the US version of this, is way out of my price range. So it's the kind of thing that I think, you know, I might give it a shot in Japanese, because I really do like Kenji Eno, and it is pronounced Eno. So if you watched the grab bag opening video, then you already know what's all in here. So first things first, we did find out this is Shin Mahjong. It is a Mahjong game. If you watch that video, I was like, it's probably Mahjong or Shogi maybe. We weren't sure. It's definitely Mahjong. This grab bag was not a good deal. I should have kept the $40. And in fact, it had a coupon in it for $5 from the store that sold it to me, and I didn't even use it. So this, you know, Space Invaders Anniversary with the chromium cover, that's, you know, that's fun. It's got a bunch of versions of Space Invaders on it. That's cool. I'm into that. Pretty much everything else in here is garbage. Japanese soccer game, horse racing game that the sticker, the price tag from Japan is still on, and it was $1. It was 100 yen. Monster Hunter Portable Third, or Monster Hunter Third Portable, or whatever. I've never played a Monster Hunter game, so this could be fun. It would be worth checking out. Medal of Honor Rising Sun. I can tell you right now, I'm never going to play this game. And some soccer manager game for the DS. That was all in the grab bag. A couple of those things are nice. Most of them are junk. Postcard from Retronauts. My presenter badge from the Midwest Gaming Classic 2018. So there wasn't really a big spend on this trip, but you know, for what could be considered the big spend, I picked up a long box copy of Street Fighter Alpha. You can probably guess what that's for. At some point down the line. I just like PlayStation long boxes. I've said this before. They're ugly and they don't fit on a shelf, but I like them anyways. So I really, this was the thing I was looking for at the show. I wanted to find a long box copy of Street Fighter Alpha for PlayStation, and I did. And it's complete. It's got the manual, and it's got the little foamy thing so that the cover doesn't cave in on itself. And it even has a Capcom product flyer with some early Resident Evil, Fox Hunt, Darkstalkers, Buster Brothers collection. I actually really like finding these promo things inside of games like this. I think they're great. And now, like I said, the manual. Street Fighter 2, the animated movie, coming to video January 16th. Also available on Laserdisc. So that was the big spend. That, and I got this in a couple of Game Boy games. This is the mystery Game Boy game. This is what, basically the guy ended up throwing this in for free. So I bought this and Nintendo World Cup on the Game Boy because I don't know if you're familiar with me as a person, but I am the world's easiest mark for Kunio. And I'm actually really trying to collect all of the Kunio games. So I had to grab that. And yeah, this is a mystery Game Boy game, and I'm actually going to add on a bit at the end of this where we're going to find out, or no, you know, I'm going to do a separate thing where we're going to find out what this is, unless it's something totally not noteworthy. If it's like Alleyway or, you know, Tetris, then I'm not going to bother. But if it's something cool, I'm going to make a video to reveal what it turned out to be. Otherwise, there's probably text under my face right now telling you what it was, because it wasn't interesting. And then again, another stack of disc-only stuff. This was another table that had, this I didn't actually need to talk them down. It's 5 for 5. 5 for 5 on single discs. So we had Sewer Shark. I don't know how I didn't already have a copy of Sewer Shark on the Sega CD, but you know, you can't give that one away. This is another one. This isn't actually a PlayStation 2 game, but SSX Tricky. This is one that got drafted, I think also by Mike in the PlayStation 2 draft. Smuggler's Run, one of Rockstar's first games on the PS2. Maybe not a launch title, but very close. It's fantastic, but again, $1. Showdown Legends of Wrestling, arguably the only good game in the Legends of Wrestling series, although it's not that good. And Blue Stinger, very, very early launch game, Dreamcast launch game, survival horror launch game. This was marked at $10. I wasn't about to pay that. I don't know if you can see that there, but there you go, $10. But since the whole box was 5 for 5, I saved $9 on that, and it's Blue Stinger probably isn't worth $10. But there it is. So again, a lot of loose disc stuff, and I'm telling you, if you're just getting into game collecting, and especially if you're the appropriate age, you know, if you're in that high school age, teenager, and this is maybe your first game system was the PlayStation 2 or the GameCube, you can get a bunch of your old games back, or a bunch of games you remember as a kid, for less than a 5 spot each. I mean, again, I have stacks of this stuff that everything in this stack cost me less than $20. You know, this is about $1 a game for this whole stack. And these aren't junk. This isn't a bunch of sports games, a bunch of garbage. Like, I'm gonna play all of these games. They're all good. You know, so that's where the action is right now. If you're just getting into collecting, or even if you're not just getting into it, if you just want to check out some good games that are vintage, PlayStation 2, Xbox, GameCube era. NES and Super NES and Genesis stuff is just climbed up so high. I've got EverDrives for all those systems. I can't justify, you know, paying $100 for games that I could have bought for $5, and it benefits nobody but the reseller. You know, I'm not there anymore mentally. I'm really focusing on disc-based stuff that I can't play on EverDrive. That's where my collecting focus is right now. And a lot of it for some of these systems is super cheap. That's where I'm at. That's where my head's at. So yeah, that's the stuff that I picked up at the Midwest Gaming Classic this year. And if you were at the show, I hope you said hi. Some people did come up and say hi, came to the panel. That was a blast. The MGC records the panels, so they will be posting it. I believe they go up on Amazon Prime. So I will let everybody know when that happens if you want to catch it. And if, you know, I hope you, this maybe spiked your interest and you want to go next year. I'd love to see you out there. If I'm there, hopefully I'm there next year. And I'd love to hit some other shows in the future. Other people have said, like, call your favorite con and tell them to invite me. I don't think I'm big enough at this point with my 32 or 3,300 subscribers that anybody's going to invite me anywhere. But, you know, if you're that person, please tell, you know, the Seattle Retro Gaming Convention or Portland Retro Gaming Convention or whoever to invite me, because, you know, and if I'm still in DC at this time next year, I will have been to MagFest again. So, you know, whatever. You know the deal. You know the drill. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you around.